Yo, my name is Big Lou, and you are now listening to Go Produce. We're the show that explores how music industry professionals turn their passion into profits. In this episode, we got Mike Denney, a calm, down-to-earth president of a successful recording label who brings a wealth of knowledge and packs a long list of accolades. The Go Produce focus of this episode is, what is expected of an artist that wants to be signed? What are they signing away? And what does the pathway to becoming a president of a relevant indie record label look like? If you're curious about the ins and outs of record labels, then this episode is for you. All right, thank you, Mike, for being here. First and foremost, I want to let you know that we really do appreciate your time, so why don't we just go ahead and go produce. Listeners, let me tell you what we've got in store for you today. Mike Denney. Mike Denney is a man with a smile and a vision. He's been acknowledged by many as a fervent champion in the Canadian music industry amongst his clients around the world. With roots in Toronto, he brings a multitude of expertise, creativity, knowledge, along with his record business acumen to the industry. He's an honored former member of the Canadian Independent Music Association Board of Directors and former member of the Board of Directors for the Canadian Country Music Association. Mike Denney's passion and steadfast support for the country music genre and contribution to the industry has been acknowledged with not one, not two, but 3 CCMA award wins for Record Person of the Year in 2014, in 2015, and again in 2017. As president of MDM Recordings and managing partner for the newly relaunched Acronym Records label, his vision and leadership led MDM to become #1 independent country label in Canada, both in 2015 and in 2016. I'm going on, but it's not stopping. He did this with his elite roster of artists, and they achieved multiple top 10 hits in 2016 and 2017. The MDM Recordings roster included 2017 Juno Award winner and 3-time CCMA Award winner for Female Artist of the Year, Jess Moskaluk, CCMA Award winner Bobby Wills, along with rising stars David James, Don Amaro, Black Mountain Whiskey Rebellion, and Tyler Joe Miller. The Acronym Records is home to Southern Saskatchewan native and indie rock alt country artist Megan Nash, as well as Juno-nominated Del Barber, Kaya Cater, and newcomer Mikhail Laxton. Mike Denney, that's a mouthful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. After the first line there, I felt like I had to smile.
I mean, it's hard not to, especially when I'm putting that in your mouth.
You
gotta
exactly.
smile with a man in a vision.
Exactly.
Yes.
I didn't write that, by the way. Somebody else wrote that.
Somebody else, I believe that. I take that word for word. Yeah. But thank you for being here. Like I said earlier, your time is very much appreciated. So why don't we just go ahead and dive right into the first segment, all right?
Sure.
Beautiful. So first up, we've got the basics. Yeah. Woo! All right. So, Mike, what we're going to do with the basics is we're going to run through some basic or not so basic, simple questions so that we can get to know you better. All right?
Sure.
So my personal favorite question is, what is your first musical memory?
My first musical memory would have been a cheap plastic guitar that I broke in no time as a young kid.
So what was the significance of this guitar? You just found it and you were angry and you just rage beat it, or what happened here?
No, I was just a young kid, and I think it was a Christmas present.
Yeah.
And I just, thought that's how you played it. It's just drum it as hard as you can. Right? That's what all the guys do that are sliding across the stage at the Scotiabank Arena, right?
I don't blame you. If you
so
look at your idols.
Yeah, the toy lasted about 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Broken.
That's a lot. So a fond memory, but a very short, distinct memory.
A fond memory? But a short, distinct.
There we go.
Oof. That's hard, man. I've been really lucky over the years to have been a part of some amazing things. The fondest, shortest for me, from a business point of view, would have been the first year that Jess won CCMA Female Artist of the Year.
Ooh, okay. I know. I feel like that's going to be very meaty. We're going to dive into that a little bit later on.
Sure.
How about so that we get a good idea of how this episode is going to go for our listeners, how about let me ask you to explain the difference between a label, a manager, and an agent. Very simple, but how they work together for an artist, but how they also differ.
Sure. In simplest form, the agent is responsible for securing live performance opportunities. The Coles Notes for a record label is to exploit the master of the recording artist as much as it possibly can, and the artist manager is to direct, guide, lead, and bring forth as many opportunities as they can for the artists that they represent. That's the real short version. It's a lot more in depth than that.
Most definitely. I spent a lot of time reading and trying to piece the puzzles together. But
I'm still reading, trying to.
I don't blame you. It's a lifelong learning experience, right?
Yeah, it sure is. And especially in this business, it changes so fast.
Year in, year out, no?
Week in, week out.
Wow.
It is ever changing, and you can have a great day one day and have the worst day within the next 24 hours, and then you bounce back
like that.
Yeah, that's how fast it happens.
So that must be a challenge in itself.
It's stressful, but when it works, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And when it doesn't work, it's not a very nice feeling.
Okay, and to put it in perspective for other people, how often when you were starting up did it work versus not working?
When I started MDM Recordings, it took a while. We had levels of success in the early days, maybe a top 10 single here or a CCMA nomination here and there. But it wasn't until about year 3 where we really started to get some traction. And then things really started to roll. So it was a 3 to 5 year thing before we were firmly established in Canada as a label and as a management company.
Right. And okay, so as the owner of the label, how did you choose your career path to end up that way as opposed to anything else in the music professional industry, music and entertainment industry?
Yeah, so my background is actually in sales and marketing. So I worked for the major labels for quite a few years. I was actually in national sales roles at Sony Music Canada in, oddly enough, children's audio and video. From there, I moved over to Universal Music Canada, and I was director of classical, jazz, and strategic marketing, which was all the Much Music compilation packages.
Right.
And that's where I was introduced to somebody by the name of Jim West.
Jim West.
Who ran and still runs a jazz label out of Montreal, but also had a distribution company called Fusion 3 Distribution. And awesome. I left Universal and went over there to head up sales and marketing for English Canada for his company. And that's where I was introduced to my business partner, Mitch Merritt, and our other co-manager, Carmen Choney, with an artist by the name of Aaron Pichette that we signed for distribution at Fusion 3. And at that point, near the end of my tenure at Fusion 3, I incorporated MDM Recordings. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew that I was going to be leaving Fusion 3 and was just trying to find something to do while I hopefully got my next corporate gig.
So essentially the path that you took wasn't really planned out saying like, I want to be a label owner. It's just leading from one venture to the next, diving more into what you found interesting in the music world led you to this. That's what, I'm understanding that.
I never wanted MDM to be a label, or I never wanted to artist manage, because it's two of the most thankless jobs that are out there.
Yeah. Okay. How come?
When things are going bad, the artist manager and the label is usually the first one to get blamed. So that's tough. But it just kind of happened. And when I started the company, I was helping artists with sales and marketing,
right?
Strategies and stuff like that. And then it just kind of morphed into production and distribution deals. And then I got a phone call one day from Mitch Merritt again, with demos of a kid by the name of Chad Brownlee. And Chad was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks as a hockey player.
Okay.
And was getting out of hockey and had an amazing voice. And we signed him.
Multi-talented.
Yeah, good dude. And he was the artist that MDM Recordings on. We had 4 albums with Chad, a bunch of top 10 singles, Juno nominations, and all the rest of that stuff. And at the same time that we were breaking him I stumbled across Jess Moskaluk on a Saturday morning on my Facebook feed.
Just stumble across.
Yeah, somebody had posted 2 videos of hers,
Yeah.
original videos, and this was 11 years ago. And they each had 500,000 views on them. And back 11 years ago,
That's
500,000 views on YouTube videos
significant.
on a yeah, it was crazy, and nobody knew who she was. So I actually creeped her. I spent at least 45 minutes entering all these different email addresses,
Yeah.
trying to send an email to her to see who she was working with, because nobody had any contact information.
Well,
for her.
I wouldn't
And
say
I
so much
finally
creeping.
got the right.
That's due diligence.
Pardon me?
That's due diligence.
Well, I knew that she was something special
There you go.
in terms of an artist and her talent. So I was like, at least, and most of the things that I do within my company are, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't work, I can at least rest knowing that I did everything I possibly.
That's actually a tremendous quality to have as an entrepreneur. You're going to have that drive and that hunger. But do you think being involved in a label, not as an artist, but working for the label, you have to have that kind of pursuits, that drive to want to go out and find the new artists? Is that
Well, you have to if you're going to make any inroads as far as being financially stable.
Yeah.
In Canada, it's really hard to do it with one artist,
right?
and that's why we opened up the management channel too. We use her company to access the available government funding that's out there. The artist management company is actually where you make the money, because you're taking the percentages and all the revenue streams that the artist has. So at that point, you can make a go of it in Canada while you're developing international territories.
Interesting. It's very interesting. Okay. You've clearly done significant amounts of great things throughout your career. My question for you here is, what is something that you really had to sacrifice in order to attain what you've done? Other than time. I mean, time and effort is a given. But is there anything that really was difficult for you to do?
I've always struggled with balance. Balance of my personal time versus balance of my work time.
Yep.
I started MDM recordings in the basement of my home, and we just celebrated our 12th anniversary on May 6th.
Congratulations.
And I am still, thank you. I am still in the basement of my home. So you're never off, because I'm working with a lot of artists that are in Western Canada.
Right.
So you've got a 2 or 3 hour time difference that's there. Just leave the office. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And that's been one of the biggest sacrifices, has been lack of personal time, and just the missing family functions, missing numerous friends, major life events and things like that, because I was on the road and traveling and just couldn't get there. Those are 2 of the biggest things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a sacrifice, but you do it for a love. You clearly have a passion. And you mentioned you spend a lot of time on the road. So I want to know, in 2015 and 2016, the MDM Recordings team were affectionately nicknamed as the Road Family.
Yeah.
What significance does that have?
I was in last 2 years. I've been in hotel rooms 190 and 195 nights over the course of 365
Sheesh.
days in a year. That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
Yeah, but my artists are my kids. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have children of my own.
Yeah.
And I treat them like they are my kids.
This is everything.
They are.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's everything for me. I can't speak for other independent record owners or other entrepreneurs in the music industry, but I'm sure they would feel the same way in terms of the commitment that it takes to really move the needle for an artist in this country. If you're not going 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And that's my work ethic and the label's work ethic. The artist has to give even more than that, or it's never going to work. The minute I want it more than the artist is the day that it's over.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's also no fun to be working with someone that doesn't want it even just like as much as you, if not more, you know? Let's put the effort in together and make something beautiful.
It is really interesting as you go through the process of working with artists, where you're trying to get this national exposure and a national success, and certain people in certain things will almost put stopgaps in place to stop them from being the thing that they want to be, which is successful. It's a really weird dynamic. I've seen it numerous times.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us to the end of this first segment that was called The Basics. Next up, we've got this speed round. Mike, you into it? You down to go fast?
I'll try, man. I'll try. I'm no spring. I'm no 20-year-old, man. So this might be a little tough for me.
You're
I'll give it a
marathon runner.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe not so much.
Yeah, not so much.
That's jokes. Alrighty, guys. So for everyone that is not aware, the speed round is designed to test quick thinking, test listening skills, and we're going to throw some kind of funky questions out. Your task, Mike, is to answer the questions by either saying yes, no, this or that, or neither, or both. But that's it. No justification. You get the option to do that afterwards. Cool?
Let's give it a go.
All right.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst? Nothing so bad here. We'll see. Anyway, so the first one will be, or I'm not going to say the first. We're just going to go speed round. Do you play any instruments?
No.
Do you prefer being inside or outside?
Both.
You're hungry. Surf or turf?
Surf.
Busy day. You prefer life of leisure or luxury?
Luxury.
Okay, this one's tough. You got to get rid of one of your 5 basic senses, which is sight, touch, smell, hearing, or taste. Which do you get rid of?
Taste.
Taste. Huh. Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner, always.
Prefer movies or TV shows?
TV shows.
Do you like dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Do you like to sing?
Hell no.
Got it. Do you have any regrets?
Tons.
Do you prefer dine-in or delivery?
Both.
Does your birthday always happen on the same day?
Yes, it does.
Huh. Do you prefer life, or do you prefer to see life glass half full or half empty?
Always half full.
Half full. Are you a yes guy or a no guy?
Both.
Do you have any hidden talents?
I don't know.
They're hidden to you as well. Do you have any nicknames?
Yeah, exactly.
Next one is, do you have any nicknames?
No.
I'm a pry there. Next question. Do you ever feel like an imposter?
Sometimes.
Has an artist ever revolted to one of your deals? This is preposterous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Do you have a daily routine?
Kind of.
And do you require artists to have a manager before working with them?
No.
All right. That is the end of the speed round. Is there anything you'd like to clarify?
Well, no, I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
You're good?
We'll get through it because we get to elaborate now, right? So, we can do this.
Well, so I am curious. You weren't so confident when you said no to nicknames.
Well, I'm sure that people have nicknames for me that I don't necessarily know about.
Oh, those kind of nicknames.
Yeah, and some of a few of our artists will do impersonations of me, of certain things that I say that on a continuous basis. And, there's always that.
That happens. That's
There's
good.
That. But I was never really stuck with a nickname throughout the years.
No.
Which is, I guess it's normal. I guess not everybody has a nickname.
No, you don't. I mean, Mike Denney. Sounds pretty cool. As is.
Thanks, man.
No, I have another question here. I want to expand on you feeling like an imposter, because everyone at every point in their stage can go through this feeling. So how does that affect you?
I struggle with that a lot. I don't want to come across as overconfident and cocky,
Yep.
but when you're in a position that I'm in as a label head and as a lead artist manager, you tend to at times get put on a pedestal where I don't feel that I'm any different or any better than anybody else. But when I'm walking into a conference or the CCMAs and I can just feel when I'm in the hotel lobby, if there's people that are there for the conference who know who I
Yeah.
am, but I have no clue who they are.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just a dude. I like to drink wine. I like to work hard. I like to go out and play and have fun and all the rest of that stuff. But you get put on this thing where people think that you're the greatest thing ever, and I'm not. I'm just a normal person who loves what I do day in and day out. So that's where the imposter thing comes for me.
Society has a
I'm
great
just trying
effect
to
on
do the
that.
best. Yeah, it does, because we're all put on. Media puts this star thing in play for a
Celebrity.
lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you struggle with it.
Yeah.
I do. I
I'd
do.
say most people do. And if you say you don't, you're lying. I mean,
Mhm.
we're all influenced by those around us. It's not to say that we have to care and worry about what other people think about us, but we are influenced by those around us. Like, no doubt.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have any advice on or for younger people that are trying to follow your steps, beginning their career? Not necessarily go to school or do this, but like, who should I be talking to?
Well, and that's the key right there. You just said it. In one word, you need to network within this business, and I'm assuming any other business. I only know the music business, but I know that most of the deals that happen in this industry are based on contacts and connections.
That's what it
And the
is, eh?
more people that you meet, and the more people that you know who can either have a direct relationship, A to B, or if I need to get to somebody who I don't know, who do I know in my contact list who can get me to that person and get me introduced? And that's been, for me, one of the biggest things that I've done is try to nurture relationships over the years uh, to maximize those opportunities, not only in Canada, but now around the world.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a global thing now. It's a global thing. There's no denying
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I do a lot of conferences and lectures and stuff like that with younger kids and colleges and universities and stuff. And, a lot of people want to do what I'm doing, running a label and running an artist
Yeah.
management company. The reality is, though, I'm 33 years into the Canadian music industry. I started in this business when vinyl was going out and
Woo!
CDs were coming in.
Yeah.
So the knowledge that I've been able to amass and the contacts that I've been able to
Yeah.
amass over those years are massive in comparison to somebody who thinks they want to do this, because they most won't be successful at it because they just don't have the connections to be able to make it happen, even though they may be uber talented. And that just takes time.
That does take time. Yeah. That was awesome. That does end this segment, though. That was the speed round. It was extended, but I really liked how we extended it, and it brought a lot of value. So thank you for that. All right, Mike, that brings us to our next segment, our third segment. This one is called What's Yo Take? Pow!
Wow.
I feel like I'm in a Pokemon game. This segment is designed to pick at your perspectives. Pick at your perspectives. I like that. What we're going to do is throw different ideas, statements, or quotes at you, and we're just going to get your opinion there. That work for you?
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So my first question for you is, the Canadian Independent Music Association represents the national interests of the Canadian-owned independent music industry, and the Canadian Country Music Association is a membership-based, not-for-profit organization committed to the promotion and recognition of Canadian country music. Yes. So what are the benefits of being part of organizations like these, and what is the best course of action to getting started?
The benefits are obviously introduction to other professionals, both in SEMA, in the independent scene of the Canadian music industry, and the benefits that they bring on the globalness of the music industry now. It is a Canadian thing, but we're in a global music industry now.
Yeah.
So they will represent you with factor, with the government, to ensure that the money and the grant money still continues to go, and then other opportunities to learn. I did a Zoom webinar the other day with the SEMA folks. We had 450 people
Awesome.
on there, I think, that were registered. We were just talking, we were talking about new release strategies. So for those younger folks who are looking to educate themselves and learn,
Yeah.
SEMA is great. the CCMA is the country music genre is the only one who has a governing body like this over it, which is amazing as a tool, because what it has spawned is a bunch of regional country music associations in every province across Canada now. So you can network, there's performance opportunities.
Yeah.
There is educational opportunities.
Yeah.
They do webinars and seminars and all the rest of that stuff. And it's really valuable, but extremely targeted to the country music scene.
Interesting. Cool. I think, especially in this kind of world, we need to have niche fields, especially. So you're saying it's working for the country, but then SEMA is more global, because as soon as you try and reach a wider demographic and touch different niches, you're essentially global.
Yeah,
you've got that
exactly.
much reach. It's wild.
Yeah, I learned a lot being on the board of directors for both of those organizations, and their mandates are different, but both extremely valuable for people who are in my position. There's another one called the Music Managers Forum for those that are interested in artist management as well too, and that's all managers at all different levels.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you get to meet these people who are iconic managers in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Who are struggling with the same things that you are day in and day out.
Very cool. Very cool. We will make sure to add those all to our show notes in case the listeners want to check that out later on. My next question for you here is... So whenever I make a little bit of a mistake or a screw up, we got our angry sound guy in the background, and he's going to make sure that I don't forget any of that.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
There you go. Next question I got for you is, there are so many artists that dream of being signed to a label. We want to know what it is about, or what it is that labels search for when they're looking for potential artists. If you essentially had a checklist, what would you want? I know that varies, obviously, but...
Yeah, it's numerous. The first thing always for us starts with the song.
Okay.
Songs. From there, it becomes like a marriage, because we're working and we're talking so close. So, for example, Jess Moskaluk, I will talk to 10 to 20 times a day on various different things that are going on in her career that we need answers on, or that we need to move forward on, or things like that. So you need to find an artist that you can relate to, professionally.
Yeah.
And then you need the artist to understand how much work it is to be an artist in Canada. It is ridiculously hard because we are so spread out from coast to coast in this country. I don't need them to know the music industry inside out. I will teach them that. But I do need them to have an understanding of work ethic and their responsibilities of what they need to bring to the table. And that's a process. We recently signed 2 new artists to our label. And from the time we started the negotiations to the time we put the first song out, for the one artist was 11 months.
Yeah.
And for the second artist, it was 18 months from the time we started to we actually released the first song.
Oh, wow.
Then it's another 3 to 5 years, if things are going well, before you actually break even and get to the other side where you're making some money.
Interesting. And in your screening process, I know you said it's a gradual process, but I'm guessing you're going to have an interview at one point in time where you first come into contact with them. From there, you get to develop a sense of personality. Are there any times where you've come to find someone that, okay, we're meshing, we're working, we can work together, I can see a future here, and then their attitude just came in and you had to check yourself before I got to wreck you, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that happens.
How do you manage that?
I have a philosophy that if I'm unhappy and it's not working for me, the chances are that you're unhappy and it's not working for you either.
Interesting.
So at that point, I don't care if there's 3 hours, 3 minutes, 3 months, 3 years left on the contract. Let's just figure out a way to part and go our separate ways. Because I don't need the cancer in my team. And I'm not going to waste my time with something that's not going anywhere when I've got other major priorities happening with other artists who believe in my abilities to move the needle forward.
Yeah, there you go.
So I've had that happen a couple of times with really talented people, and it didn't work for whatever reason, and it sucks when it doesn't work, or when you're ending a working relationship like we ended with Chad Brownlee.
Yeah.
I mean, we put 19 singles out, I think, with that guy, 4 or 5 records. We took him from nobody knowing who he was to a top 5 male in the Canadian country music scene.
Huh.
And again, to go from somebody I was talking to 10 to 20 times a day to I don't talk to him at all anymore.
Was that an attitude thing?
It was a growth thing.
Okay.
One of the greatest things that it's ever happened to this company was in the 2017 Juno Awards that we had 2 of the 5 nominees in the category of Country Album of the Year. The worst thing that's ever happened to this company was having 2 of the 5 nominees in the Country Album of the Year. Because as the manager for both of those artists, and the record label, I had to make a decision on who gets the votes. And at the same time, I was receiving phone calls from our distribution partner, as well as other major record companies who didn't have a horse in the race but wanted to support us. And they were allocating their votes to us before I had even had a chance to figure it out with the artists. And that really was the beginning of the end for Chad with us, because he was nominated along with Jess, and Jess won that year.
Yeah. So
you go from euphoria to this is not good while it's happening on national television. Ooh. And
you can't stop that.
you're clapping, smiling. It was awful. But it was great too. I mean, that's a milestone. I have the Junos just behind me on the wall, on the countertop there.
Wow.
And that's really cool. But there was a cost that came with that.
Yeah, of course. So okay, to related to the attitude issue that some artists may have you ever experienced where someone is giving you some attitude, but you were able to sort it out and then turn it into something successful?
Yeah. So we have, again, a motto within our camp that as long as it does not become personal, let's have that conflict. Let's have that struggle.
It's better
because
out than in.
If you just hold it in, it's just going to bubble and bubble and bubble, and then it's going to come out as a personal attack when it's not supposed to be a personal attack. So there are things that our artists will come to me with 9 times out of 10 amazing ideas and things that we can work with and things that we can put into place.
Okay.
But there are times when the artist roster will come to us with ideas where I'm just going like, am I allowed to swear on this? Like,
you can. Yeah, we'll just edit it out.
Maybe just beep it out.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
This is never going to work. And here's the reason why. Yeah. But usually what that does is open up a discussion about manipulating that idea or coming up with something else that may work. So confrontation is not a bad thing as long as it's not personal.
Exactly. I know it's a great challenge to be able to separate personal from business and emotion.
Yeah.
Because we are emotional bags.
And I'm not perfect either. So on the other side of the fence, I've brought ideas to the table where the artist is going like,
get out of here.
You don't even know. Yeah. Like you don't even know me as an artist. And I'm like, it's not coming from a place of that. It's coming from just an idea that pops into my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it works. That's why it works.
And it works. It obviously works.
For us, it does. We're a family. We're really close knit, and we do bi-weekly calls with all of the major components of what we do. And some of those calls can get pretty hot sometimes, but it's all for moving the needle forward for the artist.
Yeah, it's not all just fun and games. People have to realize that.
Yeah. It's a job. It's the music business. That's what they call it.
Business. Yes.
Mhm.
So there is no doubt that the music industry has changed over the time that you've been in it, let alone day to day, how you mentioned everything's always changing. From a label standpoint, what changes occur that may not be so obvious to the public? And how do you adapt to those?
That's a good question because there's so much that changes just on a daily and weekly basis. They're subtle. They could be something like Apple Music and iTunes totally moving away from supporting iTunes within their own four walls, and their focus is on streaming. Their focus is not on digital album sales anymore, or the digital downloads, even though it's a billion of dollars still generated in revenue. The average
Well,
consumer of music or streamer of music would have no idea that's happened. I started
yes.
when iTunes started,
Mhm.
and to move away from iTunes and move into the streaming world has been really difficult for me because I had instant access to what a song selling on iTunes meant,
Yeah.
where I'm not really sure what streaming data means yet. Because
Yeah,
there's various different ways to interpret the information that comes in every single day.
it's true.
So that's one of the changes, and there's tons. How radio works in country music is always changing. Getting songs on the radio is always changing. The importance of social media now versus 10, 15, 20 years ago is unbelievable in terms of how much time we spend on
Right.
crafting social media strategies for our artists and finding those things that separate them from other artists, which is part of the A&R process that I'm looking for. It's like, okay, you've got your music and you've got your talent. What is that other thing that's in your personal world
You
that
need
is going to
something.
be, you need something.
Yeah.
For Jess, it was hair and makeup, and she's a nail technician, so she does nails. For David James, it's he loves bartending and he's a mixologist and loves cooking, so that's his
Yeah.
thing. For Tyler Joe Miller, he's got his charitable efforts and goes to Guatemala for 5 or 6 weeks and builds homes and water for underprivileged families and people in Guatemala. And each of those things separates you out
Absolutely.
and makes you different.
Yeah, you need to build not only just yourself as an artist, but you're developing a brand. It's a lot that goes around
Yeah.
into this. Very cool. Do you find
Yeah.
that sorry.
The branding and no, I was just going to say the branding and imaging becomes more important now than ever.
That's the truth. Do you find that large advances are still healthy motivators for artists to become interested in signing into a label and developing these other skills?
I'm going to be totally honest with you. We have never done advances for any artist on our label that we've brought into the family. I don't believe in them, number one, because I think what it does is give a false sense of security
Mhm.
because you're given a lump sum of money. We will structure deals, and I've done this numerous times, where I will bring artists in for 50% ownership of their master,
Right.
which they will never get at any other label,
Interesting.
in lieu of advances.
Right.
Because at that point, then you've got as much skin in the game as what I do.
Right.
And that's worked for artists who have the financing available to be able to do that type of a deal. I don't believe in advances.
Is that
You just can't get out of the hole.
Yeah, it's tough. It's it is a hole. Do you find that your approach to handling signing on artists is common, or do most labels still throw out the advance?
I don't know, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. One of the things that I've really struggled with was over the years is watching what the other companies do and getting upset and angry. It's like, why aren't we doing that? And then realizing it's all smoke and mirrors, that they're going through the same problem. So I'm like, I'm going to change my mindset and I'm just going to concentrate on what we do and do it the best that we can.
Yeah.
And if those other labels do something that's different, if it's really good, I'm going to find out about it.
Yeah.
And if it's not really good, it's just going to go away. So I used to get so upset when I would see other artists on other labels get social media opportunities or interview things. And I'm like, why is that not happening for us? And then I was just like, just concentrate on your own wheelhouse
Yeah.
and don't worry about that. So that's kind of where it became a whole lot less stressful
Mm.
and a lot less wasted time spending time doing looking at going over social media stuff that I had no control over. Like, let's control our own destiny and do the things
this.
the best we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So when you're working with artists and you're focusing on what you guys do, your strengths, what services are those that your label in particular will agree to take care of with your artists or for your artists?
Yeah. So when we bring an artist into the fold and I'm talking about a record deal,
Yeah.
Most of these artists will come from a background of having no support team whatsoever. So when you move into a label relationship like us, we have a graphic designer who will work with you to design all your singles and album artwork and all the rest of that stuff. We have a website designer who will work with you to design the back end of your website, make sure that it's functional, looks good, all the rest of that stuff. There's a radio promotion person that we have on retainer. There is a media publicity company. There is a social media expert to help you with all that stuff. There is a label coordinator who's taking all the metadata and all that stuff that just needs to get done is now taken off the artist's plate. We have two people working on grant applications for the artist. So if I'm going to invest in an artist, I want them concentrating on the creative.
Yeah.
Of what being an artist is. I don't want them concentrating and freaking out on a grant deadline. So we take all of that back end admin stuff off the artist's plate so that they can concentrate on writing songs, working on their craft, making themselves better on stage, taking vocal lessons, doing all of that stuff that artists.
Yeah. There's so much background work. So labels do still contribute.
Independent.
Labels still do contribute lots of value. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's a cost that goes with that, right? So
yeah. Yes, there is.
You need to give it up. Some artists really struggle with that, and that's usually when we've had problems with artists in the past. It's like they want all the work done for them, but they don't want to share in any of the revenue that comes
dollar
in
bills.
on the other side. Yeah,
dollar bills.
Yeah.
What that does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Exactly.
That was very magnificent. We got lots of information out of that. And that also concludes What's Yo Take. That is a wrap on this segment. Boom, boom.
Wow. We're just knocking them off.
Knocking them off. 3 out of 5.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, we're rolling like a wheel. Would you look at that?
All right.
Which leads us right into our next segment called yeah. It's a wheel challenge because it's very difficult. But what we're going to do here is we're going to spin this wheel behind me. Can you see that? Yeah, ish.
I can see it.
Yes.
It terrifies me, but I can see it.
Well, we got lots of symbols, which mean you have no idea what those actually mean. And we're going to do that. I'm going to spin for you and just going to go right into it. How's that?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. The anticipation is killing me.
It's taking longer than the other 3 segments.
All right. Perfect. This is one of my favorites. This segment is called Drawing Blindfolded. You don't actually have to be blindfolded because we're out or we're not very close to each other. What you're going to be doing is looking at me in the camera. I'll just be looking good over here. And I'm going to give you a couple of different items to draw. You're going to have 3 different items to draw, but I'll give you them one at a time. And you have 10 seconds to draw them, and you can't look down. Those are the only 2 rules. And then
So I have to do it on a piece of paper.
Piece of paper or a cardboard or something that you could put.
But I have to look at you, and I can't.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. They're relatively simple items, but
okay,
we'll see.
All right.
Okay. Do you have the paper and pen or pencil?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so
I do.
The first one is going to be a microphone. Go. 10, 9. If you're ready, just show it. 7, 6, 5, 4. Oh, a little higher. A little higher. All right. Angry sound guy, what do you think? What does that look like? Is it a microphone? Yeah, we got the ding. That's a 1 point for you.
Right on.
Nice. You can.
Right on.
Amazing. We got 2 more drawings. See if you can get out of all 3. Okay, so the next one is going to be a saw. Go ahead. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You ready? Here it is.
Yeah, there it
Angry
is.
sound guy, what you think? Ooh.
Oh, come on, man.
He doesn't really like you. That's 1-1, 1-1. Can you
all
salvage
right.
yourself? You got 1 more chance.
Sure.
Okay. This one is not called. What you're going to be drawing this time is a scuba tank. 10, 9, 8,
Oh,
7,
man.
6, 5, 4.
This one's not so great.
That is no bueno.
Yeah.
You got 1 out of 3. Thank you for trying. You did not win the wheel challenge.
What was the prize? What did I lose?
Oh, well, you'll find out next time.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. That's actually kind of fun.
I'm glad you liked it. That wraps up this segment, though. All right, so there's only one way to describe that last segment, and it is a wheel challenge. I wonder what we're going to get next time. And I wonder if anyone's actually going to win and get a prize. But that's for next time. This next segment is called Clear the Air. Pow, pow, pow. What we're trying to do here is eliminate brain fog for our guests, our listeners, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and that's what we're going to try and answer today. So clear the air. First up, some people have preconceived ideas of what a label is and what it does. We've spoken a lot on this matter. Do you think a label is for everyone? All artists?
No.
Why should someone lean more towards being an independent artist versus going to a label? Clearly, they're both pros and cons to each, but what's going on there?
Yeah, I think there's 2 different types of labels. Obviously, a major label deal or an independent label deal. And there are people who just want to be an independent artist and are good at it. Independent and major labels are about turning a profit and making things profitable. And I'm not saying that that's not for everybody, but there are certain artists, and there are a lot of artists out there that just do house concerts and just do what they can to fulfill their craft. And that's really cool. And there's a market and there's a place for that. Independent artists, independent labels are trying to compete with the majors and trying to take that artist to the next level that can't happen when they're strictly independent. And then when you've got the major label machine behind you and a lot more access to revenue, then you can accelerate that process of creating the star system again.
Right.
But it's not for everybody.
Interesting. Okay. When an artist is signed to a label, like say they want to go through the whole process of doing that, what kinds of things are they giving up in exchange for their services?
That is negotiated throughout the contract in terms of what the percentages are, what the revenue split is publishing involved, is live tour involved, merch involved. We, as a label, tend to do it a little bit differently, where we'll do the contract, which is based on the master recording, but we probably won't bring you into MDM recordings unless we know we're signing a management deal with you.
Right.
Because those other revenue streams become crucial to being able to continue on as a record company.
Right.
So it's a modified 360 deal.
Yeah.
But a little bit more, it's not a passive deal. It's we're not just sitting there taking 15% of your live. We're actually out there working on all those different revenue streams as your management team, not as just your label, just taking it for the sake of taking it.
So do you think, had you not modified this to kind of be like a 360 deal isn't necessarily good for the artist?
360 deals, we've never done one as the record company. Are they good for the artist? Sure, if there is a rather large commitment from the label to move the needle for the artist, yeah, it can work. But 360 deals also came into play when the industry was at rock bottom, as far as illegal downloading and just people's consumption of music. That has radically changed now. So, yeah, I think I read something the other day where the major label companies are now making $1 million an hour on streaming.
Woo! Nice.
But there are still artists out there that are being enticed and signed into 360 deals. That to me that's rape. That's kind of against the law.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing that.
Right. Interesting.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
But my philosophy is different. I do this passionate about what I do, and I feel that if I am passionate, that the dollars will follow. And if you're doing great work, that will happen. It just takes some time. I don't need it all up front. I don't want it all up front.
Yeah, that's a little scary. You and your team clearly do lots of due diligence in finding the right artists to work with your label. Are there kinds of due diligence that artists should be doing to work with particular people at different labels? Because it's a relationship thing, and sometimes you can find that people want to manipulate you and just bleed you for all of your skill, which is kind of what the 360 deal might have been in the past. What should the artist be considering when approaching this kind of deal?
One, find great one. Two, I am more attracted to artists who maybe don't know all the ins and outs of the industry, but have a business sense about them and know what their brand is and know what their image is and know a little bit of marketing and knows what turns their crank. That's just legwork that any independent artist should do if they're interested in, one, in pursuing a career, and two, in terms of making yourself attractive to people like myself or to other artist managers or to other labels or to other agents. This is a business. It's not about the partying and all the rest of that stuff. It's about dollars and cents. And you need as an artist, you need a strong commitment to sense of who you are and a sense of what it's going to take to cross over and become popular or a star, quote unquote.
Right. And how about those independent artists that have crazy work ethic and they put in all the work and they eventually get to superstar level? Do you have any qualms with them? Is it okay? Is it kind of cool, admirable? What do you think? What you got with it?
And if we're talking to mega stars that are out there, the Justin Biebers and the Drakes and all the rest of them, I don't know if I'd ever want that for one of my artists, to be honest with you. It's way too much.
It's too
way
much?
Too much. It manipulates your head. And we were talking about just celebrity and all that earlier on, and to not be able to just have some semblance of a normal life because you're under the scrutiny and under the microscope all the time, man, that's hard. Now, there's perks, your floor seats to the Raptors game and all the rest of that stuff, and obviously the money and the huge house and all the rest of that stuff. But I look at some of these people and they're struggling. Personally, they're struggling. Yeah,
it's a lot.
It isn't.
Yeah, money is not everything.
No, it's not.
Fame is not everything.
That's the sexiness of it, right? That's what makes it appealing.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. Yeah. I want to know a little bit about your sister company, Acronym Records. Why was it relaunched? We mentioned this in the introduction, but we didn't get into it here.
Acronym Records. So what was, when I first incorporated MDM Recordings, I was adamant that I was going to pursue artists that I was passionate about. And those artists happened to be in numerous different genres of music. But what happened was we started to get success with country music artists. And when they were out doing radio and media interviews for the artists who were non-country, they were always being asked why they were signed to a country label. So I started Acronym Records as an offshoot label to move the non-country artists and give them a home of their own. What has happened with that is Tony Tarleton, who was the director of label acquisition, EMI Music Canada, back before they got bought by Universal, he came to me and they invested in us in 2011. as a support company for Canadian artists in country music. And Tony's a great friend of mine and has been over the years. And he moved when EMI got sold to Universal. And I'm like, hey, if you don't make it through the cut, because 1 + 1 very rarely equals 3, it usually equals half. And people lose their jobs. And I was like, you know what? You've got connections around the world with record companies. That's really been building MDM and starting to look at international placement of our artists. Tony has contacts around the world from his previous experience. So I'm like, why don't you come into MDM Recordings, help me on the international front of what I'm trying to do for the country labels, and I'm going to give you Acronym Records to run your own record company under the umbrella of MDM Recordings. It's a Factor 4 level approved company, so he didn't have to put any equity into it. And basically what he's been able to do with it has fast-tracked what took me 3 to 5 years to do. He was given it. He was given that opportunity to run it, at the same time helping me with our international piece. So, we have a license deal in Australia now for MDM Recordings. And New Zealand, we were in the UK in January and have a deal on the table for all of the UK, Ireland, and Europe now for MDM. And Nashville and the US market is a little bit of a different beast, but we're managing that. But Tony's been crucial in bringing that piece of it in while he's running and developing Acronym Records.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Sure.
I got one more question for you. Oh, do you smell that? That fresh, clean air now that all the air is cleared. Thank you for doing that. That brings us to the end of this episode, which was super, super awesome. I hope you had a great, fantastic time, Mike. Do you have any final words that you'd like to share? This is also a great opportunity for you to tell our listeners where they can find you.
One, this has been great. This has been totally different than most of the other interviews and stuff that I've done. That's kind of cool and kind of refreshing. You can find us at mdmrecordings.net to check out our roster, acronym.com. And I'm on all the social platforms as well too. And you can check out this roster. It's we got a lot of good things.
All right. In conclusion, I'd like to thank our listeners. I hope you learned something here with us today. Shout out to our very own grumpy sound guy. I think you found a reason to smile. To Prevail Media Group, without your team and venue, none of this would be possible. And then lastly, thank you so much, Mike Denney, for being here. This was so much fun for me. We out. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, then follow us on Instagram at go.produce. Check out our show notes, support us on Patreon, and help us grow this community. All of this and more can be found on our website at goproduce.ca. I am Big Lou, and I want to make sure that until next time, you go produce.